What's going on, guys? YCImaging here with another tutorial, and today I'm here to show you all 5 different flash transitions that you can do all in program without any external plugins. I'm going to be doing these today on Adobe Premiere Pro CC 2017, but I'm pretty sure you can recreate any of these flash transitions in pretty much any editing program, Final Cut Pro X, Sony Vegas, etc. These are all pretty simple, and they look pretty good as well. So let's just dive straight into it. The first flash transition that we're going to get into is the double flash, and this is fairly simple. First, we're going to set up our project, and we're going to get 2 clips next to each other. As you can see right here, I have 2 different clips, and I'm just going to scrub to the cut where the clips actually transition into each other, which is right here, and I'm just going to go back around 3 frames. So an easy way to do this is to just click the left arrow on your keyboard. Let's just go over 3, and we'll insert a cut right here, and then we'll go back another 3 frames and we'll insert another cut. So we'll do that, and then we'll head over to our effects panel, and we're just going to add in 2 additive dissolves on those cuts. Real small additives. We'll add in the first one, drag this down, scale this down real small. You want these really small. You want these flashes to go fairly fast, so these are going to be fairly small. We have one in, and then we'll go in and we'll add the other one as well. And you can even add an additional additive dissolve between the 2 clips actually transitioning into each other. So as you can see right there, you have 2 quick flashes before the clip transitions into the next one. And if you wanted to, you can even go in and add an additional additive dissolve between the 2 clips actually transitioning into each other, the 2 different clips I'm talking about. So we'll just see how that looks, and then we'll dive into the next flash. As you can see, it's pretty cool. Fairly simple as well. 3 quick additive dissolves to create 3 flashes before the transition. So let's just dive into the next one. The next flash transition that we're going to dive into is a flash build. I kind of sort of touched on this in my last music video effects tutorial, but I'm going to show you all a way to just amp this up and make this look a little bit better. So we have 2 clips right here, 2 different clips that are going to be transitioning into each other, and we'll click on the clip, the first one that's going to be transitioning into the second one, and we want to go back around 10 frames. So if you're on Mac, I believe this works on Windows as well. If you hold down the Shift key and you push left on the arrows, it'll take you back 5 keyframes. So if we do that twice, we'll be back 10, and then we're going to search our effects panel for no, that's not transform. We're going to be looking for brightness and contrast, and we'll drop that on our first clip. We're already back 10 frames, so we'll click on that. We'll go to our effects panel, and we're just going to add in a keyframe right here and toggle this on for the brightness and the contrast. And if we hold shift and we go over 10 frames to the actual cut of the 2 clips, which will be just hold shift and you push right on the arrow key twice, we'll go over 10 frames and we'll add in 2 more keyframes right here for the brightness and the contrast. On the second one, we're gonna up the brightness to all the way to 100. Just drag that all the way up, and then we want to up the contrast as well to around a 40, just to get those whites really popping in the clip. And we're gonna adjust the velocity as well, because we want this to kind of sort of build up into a flash. We don't want it to go straight. Like, let's just see how it looks now. As you can see, it's cool, it doesn't look bad, but if we really ramp this up and up the velocity, we'll have a slow build into a fast build of the actual flash. So what we want to do is we want to click these drop down arrows beside the brightness and the contrast, and we'll click. If you go down to your velocity graph right here, if you click this, you see this icon right here pop up, the little circle by your mouse. If you click that, it'll enable your velocity. And what we want to do is we want to drag this over to the right, and then we'll drag it down. As you can see, we're building a hill, and we want to scroll down. We want to scroll up to our brightness. We want to do the exact same thing. So you have to wait until you see this actual icon right here pop up next to your mouse. You click that, and then you drag that over, and then you bring it down. As you can see, we're building a hill. So let's just preview this and see how it looks. As you can see, we have a slow build into a pretty intense flash. And we can also do this for the second clip as well if we want this to come off of a flash on the second clip. So we'll do the exact same thing. We'll add a brightness and contrast to the second clip, and then we'll travel. No, before we even travel, let's just add in our keyframes. We'll add in a keyframe for brightness and contrast on that second clip. And we'll travel over 10 frames. Again, you can hold shift and push over on the arrow keys twice. It's gonna take us over 10 frames. And then we'll add in our keyframes right here as well. We push this arrow to navigate us back to the first initial keyframes we set. And we're just gonna up the brightness all the way to 100, and we'll up the contrast as well to around a 40. And then if we hit these drop down tabs right here, it's just like we did on the first clip, hover over your velocity graph to enable it. And this time we're gonna drag it over, but instead of going down, we're gonna go up. As you can see, we're building a hill. We'll do that. And then for the contrast, we'll do the exact same thing. Let's just scrub over. We'll click this and we'll enable our velocity. And we're building a hill. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna come off of a flash, which is gonna look pretty cool. So that's our second flash, which is the flash build. Looks pretty cool, pretty simple to do. The next transition that we're gonna be diving into is kinda sorta a combination of the first initial transitions that we dove into. So we're gonna do a double flash again, but we kinda wanted to build up this time. So we're gonna be dealing with the brightness and contrast again. I have the two clips right here that we're gonna be transitioning into. And let's just drop the brightness and contrast on the first clip that we're gonna be transitioning from. And we're here at the last frame where these transition into each other. Let's just add in keyframes for the brightness and contrast right here. And we're gonna dive over to the left around 3 frames. So if you hit left on your arrow key 3 times, you're gonna be 3 frames over. Let's just add in keyframes again right here for brightness and contrast. And if we go over to the left 2 more keyframes, we're gonna add in 2 more keyframes right here. And then the next jump that we're gonna do over to the left is 10 keyframes. So if you hold shift and you push left on your arrow keys, you're gonna go over 10 frames. Let's just do that real quick. And let's just add in 2 more keyframes for brightness and contrast. So let's hit this arrow key right here to go over to the right to the next set of keyframes. And on these keyframes right here, we're gonna up the brightness way up to 100, and we're gonna up the contrast to 40 as well. As you can see, it's really blowing out those whites. We want a nice intense flash, so that's cool. And we hit this arrow key right here to go to the next set of keyframes. We're gonna leave these at 0 because we want this to go bright and then come down and then go bright again. So 100 on brightness, 0 on brightness and contrast right here is actually fine. So if we hit this next arrow key to go over to the next set of keyframes, we're gonna boost that brightness way back up again. So we'll go up to 100 and we'll up the contrast as well. So let's just preview how this looks without any velocity adjustments. As you can see, that looks cool, but we want that build up on the flash just to be a little bit more smooth. So let's just hit this drop down arrow. Same what we did on those velocity keyframes on the last flash transition. We hit that drop down menu to get to our velocity, and let's just zoom in on this so we get a better glimpse of what we're looking at. So we're gonna hit this and we're gonna drag this over and bring this down. As you can see, we're building a hill. We really want to build up that first initial flash that we're going to be going into. And let's just preview how this looks. Looks pretty cool. As you can see, we get a slight build, and then we're getting a double flash that's going to be going into that next clip. And that looks pretty cool. So that right there is a flash build and also a double flash. The next flash that we're going to be diving into is almost like a ghosting. It's like a ghost and zoom. I can't even really explain it. It's basically having the clip jump out at you and then it's going to be coming back on the other one, but it's a flash involved in it. So let's just dive straight into it. Let me drop this down so we can see our clips. So here's the clip right here that's going to be transitioning into this one. Let me just flip this over because it's driving me nuts. I filmed this upside down in the Ronin. So let's just flip this over so we know what we're looking at. All right, cool. That's just bothering me. All right, anyways, yeah, so this clip right here is going to be transitioning into this clip. And the first thing we're going to want to do to get into this effect is we're going to want to duplicate this clip up. So if you're on Mac and you hold Option, you can drag this up and it's just going to duplicate the clip. And we're going to want to duplicate the one that we're going to be transitioning into as well. So let's just do the same thing for that clip. So we duplicated these clips up. So let's just click on the first shot that we're going to be transitioning from, the duplicated one that is. And in our effects panel, we're going to just switch this mode to, let's just switch this to a color dodge. As you can see right there, that's really brightening that shot up. Just adding a flash to it. And let's just skip to the frame where these transition into each other. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in some keyframes. So we'll click the scale to add in the keyframe for the scale. Actually, undo that. I'm sorry. So let's just search our effects panel real quick. And we're going to be looking for transform. So let's drop the transform on this. And we'll be adjusting the scale and the position and all of that in the transform effect, because what the transform effect does, it enables you to be able to adjust your velocity and stuff like that. So let's just add in a keyframe right here for scale, and we're going to also add in the keyframe right here for opacity as well. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to dive over 10 frames again to the left. So if we hold shift and we push left on the arrow keys, it's going to take us over 5. Let's just do that twice to get over 10 keyframes, 10 frames, and we'll add in a keyframe right here as well. So with this initial frame right here, we're going to want to drop the opacity down, because we're going to want this to come out of nowhere. We don't want it to be there the entire time. So we'll drop the opacity right there down. And if we push this arrow right here to go over to the next keyframe, let's just increase the scale of this to around like a 175 or so. So as you can see right here, it's coming in and the opacity is coming in, and it's going to be zooming out. So that looks pretty cool right there. Let's just preview it before we do any velocity adjustments. As you can see, that looks cool, but it's just not going that smooth, and it doesn't really look like it's going that fast. So what we're going to want to do is, if we click this right here, if we uncheck this box right here, which is use composition angle, and we boost the shutter angle up to around 100, it's going to give us a nice motion blur when it zooms. So we'll do that, and then we'll go in and we'll adjust the velocity of the initial zoom on the scale and for the opacity as well. So here we are on the scale one. We're going to click this icon, drag this over just like we've been doing in all the other effects. We're going to be building a hill because we want this to gradually zoom and build a nice zoom for it. And then we'll go and then we'll do the exact same thing for the opacity as well. Click right here to enable our velocity. Bring this over, drag it down. We're building a hill. And let's just preview what this looks like. As you can see, it looks pretty cool. It pops out and it has a nice, it looks faster, and it has more motion blur in that zoom, which looks pretty cool. But we're going to want to come off of a zoom on this clip as well. So this is our duplicated clip that we did at the beginning. We'll click on this, and we're going to drag a transform on this one as well. Same thing we did with the first initial clip. We're just going to be reversing it. So we'll add in our first initial keyframes for scale and opacity, and we're going to want to jump over 10 clips to the right this time. So if we hold shift, push the arrow key over twice, over 10 frames, we'll add in those keyframes right there. And for this one, we're going to want to drop the opacity all the way down to 0. And if we push this arrow key right here to go over to our first initial set of keyframes that we set, we're going to want to increase the scale on this clip to around a 175. Don't forget to switch your blend mode on this one to color dodge, just like we did on the first clip, to give us the flash. We're going to uncheck the use composition angle, I'm sorry. And we're going to boost that shutter angle up to around 100 just so we get our motion blurs in there. So cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to adjust our velocity just like we did on those first initial clips. So if we zoom in here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to adjust and add our velocity. And this is weird sometimes. Sometimes you don't get the the icon. So let's just zoom in. And as you can see right there, it came up, but it's weird. Sometimes it doesn't work. So we'll drag this over and we'll move it up just like we've been doing on all the other clips. We're building a hill. Cool, we have that. And then we want to do the exact same thing with our opacity. So we'll click right here to enable the velocity for our opacity, and we're going to build that hill up just like we've been doing. And cool, our effect should be done. So let's just preview it and see how it looks. Looks pretty cool. As you can see, it's zooming out, we're getting a flash, and then it's zooming back in on this clip. So that is the zoom ghosting flash. I don't really know what to call it, but yeah, that's how you create this flash effect. Next flash effect that we're going to be diving into, is kind of weird. I wanted to come up with something where the light was kind of sort of coming off of the actual frame, off of the actual screen, and moving in and then going back off of the screen. So the way we're going to create this is if you click this new item icon right here in your project browser, and you go to, let's just go to black video, and we can just hit OK. This is basically going to confirm that it's the exact same settings as our sequence. So we'll do that, and then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to drag that black video over top of the two clips that we have transitioning into each other. So these right here are the clips that are going to be transitioning into each other. If we dive over to the actual frame where they're transitioning into each other right here, in between, as you can see them in between these two clips, we're going to browse our effects panel, our effects thing, and we're going to look for lighting effects. So we'll find lighting effects and we'll drop that on the black video. As you can see, it's almost like a spotlight right here that we're going to be forming. So if you hit the drop down right here on light 1, we're going to be adjusting this a tad bit. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to adjust the center. So if we drag this over to the left, as you can see, the light is kind of sort of moving off of the screen, off of frame, so you can't really see it. So we're going to want to drag this over just so it's slightly in frame and off the screen. If you hit this drop down right here to, actually we don't even need to hit the drop down. So as I said, we're right here and we're in between the two frames. So the two clips that are going to be transitioning into each other. If we hit this right here, we're going to toggle on animations, which is basically adding keyframes. We're going to add keyframes right here. And if you hold shift, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to dive over 5 frames to the left. So if you hold shift and hit the left on the arrow key, just like we've been doing, we're going to dive over 5 frames. Let's just do that real quick, and we're going to want to add a keyframe here. Then if we hit this right arrow key, we're going to go back over to the first initial keyframe that we added. And then if we hold shift again, we're going to want to dive over 5 frames to the right. So if we hold shift and push right on the arrow key, we're going to go over 5 frames to the right. We'll add in a keyframe here. So let's just push this left arrow to go to the first initial keyframe, which is the one in the middle, which is where we're going to want this the brightest to transition into the clip. So if we go here, we're going to want to up the minor radius, and as you can see right here, what it's doing is it's brightening this light up. So I like to go to a point where it's not really hitting the other side, just so you can see that transition of the light coming from off and going back. So as you can see, it's creating a cool little light right there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wanna go over to the left, to the keyframe all the way to the left, and let's just drop our minor radius all the way down to 100. And if we hit this twice, we're gonna wanna go over to our last keyframe and drop that minor radius all the way down to 0 as well. And as you can see, it's no light there, it goes over, and then it's no light again, which looks pretty cool, but we can't see our clip, so we have to change the actual blend mode of the black video to screen, which is going to allow us to see our clips under. And as you can see, the light comes into frame and it goes off of frame after the flash. As you can see, it's not that bright. If you want this to be brighter, what you can simply do is you can just go into our light adjustments right here. You can up the intensity if you want this a bit wider, and you can also even change the color of this if that's what you wanted to do as well. So if you wanted to, say you wanted to have this go yellow, you can do yellow, and you can have a color transition right there as well. So it's a bunch of different things you can do with this one. This one's pretty cool, and it's a bunch of different other adjustments here that you can make as well. Just keep in mind, if you want this to build, then you have to go in and you have to adjust your velocity most of the time. So I'm gonna wrap this up before my computer dies. If you all enjoyed this video, make sure to drop me a like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Also, what I want you guys to do is, if you have any other tutorial suggestions that you would love me to do, just drop those down in the comments as well. It would be greatly appreciated. You give me some ideas and I can help you. So yeah, man, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and also, yeah, I'm just rambling right now. Peace, guys. Hope you like this video.